thing about life is people gonna talk about you regardless of what you're doing. So stay focused, stay on your grind, and pay them no mind. Tell them what.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to my podcast. My name is Evangel, and today on the episode, I have a guest with me. Her name is Rosie. Rosie, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. We've already started with my name, so that's a good start. A little bit about me. So I work in digital marketing and social media as a strategist and account manager. So that keeps me nice and busy. When I'm not doing my 9 to 5, I'm pretty much doing everything else under the sun. I've got my own podcast. I create content on LinkedIn. I create content on TikTok, on Instagram. So pretty much content creation is my one true love, other than what I do sort of in my day to day.
I like that. One true love.
Other than, dogs and my lovely boyfriend and lovely family.
Nice, nice. That's great. Thank you, Rosie, for the introduction. So, what's personal branding to you, Rosie?
So to me, personal branding is basically what you want to be known for and then how you showcase that. And in the most part, it ends up being related to social media or digital marketing, but it's essentially the essence of you and then how you represent that to other people. So it could be you're passionate about cars, so you show your expertise and love for cars, or you could have there's a girl I follow on LinkedIn who is really big on sharing personal branding of others and also talking about her ADHD and that she's a young millennial that works. And that's her essence and what she talks about and what she is known for. So pretty much putting you out there in a nice structured, fun way.
Nice, nice. So, for me, personal branding is all about projecting yourself in the most authentic way and
Yes.
representing your true self, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not being fake. Okay, not being fake. I think that's the word,
Yeah.
right?
Authenticity is everything when it
Yeah,
comes to
just being
personal branding.
original and yeah, just who you are at your core,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So, yeah. How important is personal branding on LinkedIn, and how important is LinkedIn to your personal branding?
I think there's a lot of different platforms that people can use for personal branding. I mean, when you think of YouTubers or celebrities or influencers, you typically associate them with Instagram or YouTube platform or TikTok. But what I find really interesting about personal branding tying in with LinkedIn is that it's really producing sort of a new wave of thought leaders, which is, one avenue of how you can create a personal brand and how you can, elevate that. But I think that using LinkedIn, it's a very powerful platform to be able to connect with other people that you want to learn from and also project your opinions, your thoughts, your message to other like-minded people. And I think it's a lot easier to do in a specialist space on LinkedIn compared to doing it on Instagram or TikTok that don't necessarily lend themselves to maybe more of a business mindset. And I think something that I love about LinkedIn is that it's really just the rise of personal branding at the moment.
Yeah.
The people that are going viral and have, growing followers or have mass followers are just being, as you said, authentic and being themselves, but they're also sticking to a certain niche or a certain topic. And often it ends up being something that kind of works with the people, the business professionals of the world. But that doesn't mean you have to be a CEO or someone that works in law or accounting. There's many people out there who are breaking the mold of what counts to be professional, what is the law of professionalism, and then sort of breaking that wall down and sort of rewriting it. And that's also an element that's coming out in LinkedIn. So I think they work very much hand in hand. And it's something that I've found I've been able to develop what my personal brand looks like, feels like, sounds like, and then be able to share that quite authentically and quite candidly on LinkedIn, which then allows me to network and connect with other people, learn from other people as well. So it really facilitates so many different sides of the conversation when it comes to personal branding.
Nice. So we're talking about networking, right? That was how we met,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I
Do
know.
you want to talk about how we met here?
Oh, let's do it. Good old LinkedIn, hey?
Yeah. So I follow the company that Rosie works with, and she posted something, and they commented on the post. I checked that out. I checked out her post and checked out her profile and saw a video where she was talking about creating a podcast. So I was like, okay, good. Looking at what she posts on LinkedIn, I was like, okay, let's get you on this podcast and like let's talk and see everything. And
The
I like
amount,
the first time we talked, it was amazing because it's like we just like they say, great minds think alike, right?
totally.
Yeah, so definitely LinkedIn is good for networking.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Then I think you a little bit answered my next question in terms of how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. But if you just want to share little tips
Sure.
of what's
I think
working for you.
I think where I first started, I didn't really understand the importance of sort of what personal branding was until I started being quite active on LinkedIn earlier this year, I think February or March, whenever it was. And for me, what I had to really start with was, what do I actually care about? What am I passionate about?
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, I could be known for this thing, but it's a bit of an effort to create content on it. The first thing is identify what you love or what are you knowledgeable on. And then it should be easy to make content sort of from there. So that's probably my first tip, is find your passion and really sort of write down what you want to be known for. Is it that the business that you own? Is it your love for dogs? Is it that you've battled with mental health and you've come out the other side and you can share your tips? Or is it mindfulness or whatever it is? When it comes to sort of, I guess, continuing to go and really sort of doubling down on wanting to build a personal brand, once you've identified what your essence is, what your authentic self is, it's, I guess, sort of speaking about it on the right platform and finding where the right audience is that are going to really resonate with your message or resonate with your content and continue to do so. So for me, I love talking about digital marketing and mental health. And for me, the platform that worked is LinkedIn. So I found an audience that really resonated with what I had to say and sort of continued from that. And then what I guess sort of grow from that is consistency is a really big part. So find an upload schedule for content that works for you, and also just engage with other people. It's called social media for a reason. It's to be social. It's not
Right.
just to be passive, especially if you want to continue to be a content creator or you want to sort of grow up personal branding. People are going to put the effort to watch your videos or leave a like or a comment. Give them the time of day and just respond back. So for me, that's how I'm also learning as well. I'll leave comments on other thought leaders' posts, or I will respond to people that have taken the time to comment on my posts and really start to formulate an online community. I think that's something that's really important as well. You start to build a community that are very like-minded to you or have the same passions, or you can actually learn from them. So it's a whole bunch of things that go into it, I guess, uploading different kinds of content that works for your audience. But I think probably the most important thing when I come to it is whatever piece of content you're uploading, what value can you actually give someone? I found that if I'm going to spend my time consuming content, I want to learn from something from it, or I want to be entertained or find it valuable. So what is the true value about it? So every time I go to hit a post, I think, okay, I've got an audience of X amount of people. They follow me for me, but what can I teach them, or how can I entertain them, or make something humorous or whatever it is, something relatable. So that's probably my number one tip, I guess, is think of the value and then drive that in all of your content.
Yeah. And talking about content, which leads us to the next topic we're going to talk about, right?
Perfect.
Content burnout, right? Because
Ooh,
again,
yeah.
like you are talking about creating content and content that is of value to people that follow you and people that are following you for you, takes a lot of time.
Totally.
It takes a lot of commitment, right? So, recently you faced the issue of content burnout and you had to take a break,
I did.
right? So, can you share with us your experience, how you are overcoming it, and let us learn from you?
Of course. So I had really, really bad sort of burnout maybe 3 weeks ago, and it was a lead up of maybe 4 weeks, and I kind of just kept ignoring it. And I guess what caused it was I was posting about 5 times a week on LinkedIn. I was then recording 2 episodes a week for my own podcast, editing a podcast each week. I was uploading to socials sort of 4 times a week, 5 times a week on the podcast one. I was then making TikToks 5 times a day. I was then also working my 9 to 5 and also sort of just coming out of lockdown here in Melbourne. And I was exhausted. I was doing too much. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't, doing my best at work. All of these things sort of piled up. And so for me, that it came a day where I quite literally was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I just sort of snapped and fell in a heap. And
Whoa.
so what I did is, I guess as part of my personal branding, I talk quite openly about mental health struggles and anxiety and that sort of stuff. It's I firstly shared it on social media, which is most people be like, what the hell are you doing? But for me,
Yeah,
it was, okay, how can I sort of showcase and highlight that burnout's real and help other people? And then from there, I was like, cool, this is kind of it for now. I'm going to take a step back. And so for me, I canceled my plans for that weekend. I really sort of leaned on my personal sort of, inner circle of support, my partner, my parents, my friends, just to be like, hey, I need help. I'm not doing okay. I took a break from content. I completely cut down on what I was producing and just took some me time. I think that was the biggest lesson, is just taking some chill time, and that there's no shame in that. I think for, past me would have thought,
yeah,
oh, you've got to push hard. You've got to push hard. If you get burnout, you're weak. But it's really about changing the conversation around it, that
correct.
burnout is normal. And I'm
Yep.
just a person that always goes too hard, doing too much. I'm too ambitious sometimes and just trying to take on too much. But I guess in the last 3 weeks since I sort of shared that post, I've just been able to realize, oh, it doesn't always have to be 150% all the time. Some days I can post more on LinkedIn. Other weeks,
Sure.
maybe I'll take a break from TikTok or whatever it is. So it was trying to find a better balance between doing things, being social or working, and then also balancing, oh, it's okay if I have a night in tonight, or I have a bubble bath, or I sleep in and I
The
cancel
bubble
some
bath.
plans. We love a good bubble bath.
Me too. It's part of my wellness routine, right?
It's so
Bubble
important.
bath with candles, light, music, right? Just
Yep.
stay there for like 30, 45 minutes. You feel refreshed and energized.
Yeah, you got to do what's going to help you just sort of recharge and take that time.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I like, and I must commend you for that, is speaking out about what you were going through, being vulnerable to
Mm-hmm.
people on LinkedIn, because not everybody would usually share what they're going through like that
No.
on a public platform, right? And I must say that's commendable. And even
Thank you.
if maybe somebody might not have said it, and I know that there's somebody that might be following you that actually that helped them, so that okay, I'm not the only person going through this. So yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Rosie, for sharing.
Of course. Thank you. I think something that I've sort of realized, I guess, in my personal brand, what I want to be known for, or what's important is being, someone who's got a bit of a platform, who works at a 9 to 5 and does everything else on the side, is that so many people are ashamed of mental health, or are ashamed of feeling like they're failing or not succeeding, or
Yeah,
they're burnt out. And it's such a normal feeling. So I was nervous to post that post. It ended up getting, I think, like 55,000 views or something. Like, it's not a small amount of people that have now seen that I,
yeah,
was
true,
crying at
true,
my desk at home.
true.
But it's important to sort of change the narrative around it. And I think that's what I love about LinkedIn, is that 5 years ago, it was just, men in suits, or, women in, high up positions, or whoever it was, very
Yeah,
much strict business professionalism. And now
yeah,
people sharing like, oh, hey, I just had a baby. Or, hey,
yeah,
look, I'm reuniting with my daughter after 2 years apart. Or, hey, I'm having a bad mental health day. And I think
yeah,
it's an area of trying to normalize it and not put the shame on it. And, in the era of social media, the last sort of 5 to 10 years, it's all been about the highlight reel and filtered content and, oh, look,
yeah,
I'm always perfect and happy. It's like, well,
yeah, true,
look, I'm
true.
having a bad day. Hopefully this can help someone else. And that's a lot of the reason why I make content, is I'm like, cool, maybe someone else will learn from this, or feel like they're not alone, or be like, oh, it's okay to feel this way, or it's okay to not be succeeding this week, or not growing, or not meeting my objectives as well as I was the month before, or whatever it is.
True, true. And I feel that's really important in social media of today, because you've heard the
Mm,
stories of how social media affects the mental health of people, Gen Z and the likes. And one thing that you always see on even other platforms, not just LinkedIn, is people celebrating their successes, Maybe when they go on trips, vacations, they're posting, they're always smiling. They don't really share things that happen behind the scene, like the struggles, things you did to overcome struggles, those kind of things. And I feel, even me, I feel this is for everybody. I feel we should I feel we should come to a point where we're able to share things that are not just smiles on a beach in Mexico or something, right? So that's really important, right? Even LinkedIn and across social media. So yeah.
No, totally agree with you.
So moving on.
I'm ready.
Now let's get to something really interesting now, which is TikTok.
Yes, I love TikTok so much.
TikTok is amazing in a way that, okay, recently they hit 1 billion users, right? And we have been seeing that a lot of brands are now paying attention to TikTok. And there's something, okay, I have it here. I was reading it just about a couple of hours ago. It is the 29 social media trends for 2022 by Hootsuite, right? And the number one thing on the list is TikTok will become the most important social network for marketing.
I love that. I support that entirely. Hootsuite are really wrong.
Yeah. So, talking about TikTok and how brands are focusing on TikTok with content creators, the shift is, we hear that people on TikTok don't like ads that are ads, right? They want content, that they want an ad that is a content that you can consume and enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's shifting the narrative and shifting how brands and content creators are creating ads. So can you just tell us about why you love TikTok and how you see brands taking advantage of TikTok and what the outcome or outlook rather of TikTok is in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think for me, the best thing I love it, probably from a consumer and a user, as well as someone who is quite embedded in marketing and social media, is just how the algorithm works and how, I guess, inclusive the community is. I've been on social media for years and I always struggled with Instagram because I wasn't, 6 foot tall, blonde and skinny like all these models, and I didn't have the perfect filtered life. And then you get to TikTok and everyone is just so supportive of whatever they're doing. It's like, you want to crochet a mushroom and do that? Amazing. Claps for you. Or you are trying to learn how to drive a car for the first time? Amazing. Love that for you. True. And that's, I guess, one element of it. It's just a very supportive environment. And maybe I'm just on the good side of TikTok and sort of missing the weird side, but that's the kind of content I see. And I see it a lot, for example, I've seen in the lead up to sort of Black Friday deals and Christmas, a lot of people are like, oh, I've just launched my small business. I'm struggling to get sales, please help me out. And people are like, yes, I'm going to like this. Yes, I'll buy from you. And I feel like you wouldn't have seen that as much on like sort of Instagram and Facebook back in the day, where you can almost sort of plead for help to the masses and be like, hey, help me. The second thing I really love about TikTok is just the way the algorithm works. And I know nothing technical. Whoever builds or codes it or whatever they're doing, they need a pay rise and they need a promotion because it is scarily spot on. It's all about, I think what they've really understood is it's about the individual user. Not everyone wants to see the same thing. And so I guess the way that people sort of speak about TikTok is, oh, I'm on book talk or I'm on finance talk. And you talk about this sort of community side of TikTok that you're on. And everyone's sort of home feed or For You page, for those who, are familiar with it, sort of your main feed of just endless scrolling. It's just so personalized. And that's a really big trend that I see going into 2022 is more personalized, authentic marketing. So I think sort of seeing the benefit or the future for brands is that TikTok's still quite in its infancy as a social media compared to your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's still quite new, even though it's got 1 billion users. It's growing insanely fast. I think it was the number one, the fastest growing app in 2020, and I think 2021 as well.
Yeah.
Like the amount of downloads on there is insane. And I think the opportunity for brands is not only can you speak to a younger market, I think it's about 30% that are sort of Gen Z, maybe even anywhere between sort of 13 to 24. They do make up most of the platform, but you can have a little bit more fun with it. And I think that's where some brands are missing the mark. They're trying to emulate what they do on LinkedIn or what they do in TV ads or Facebook. It's like, no, TikTok's so different. And there's a few brands that are doing it really well. I think my number one favorite right now is Duolingo. Have you seen Duolingo on TikTok?
Yeah, I know you mentioned it the last time we talked, right? But I've not checked them out.
It is. So for those who don't know, I guess Duolingo is what, like a learning language app or something where you can learn different languages.
Yeah, I know the app, right? But I've not checked out them.
Yeah.
I've not checked them out on TikTok.
Yeah, basically what they're doing on TikTok is they've grown from about 100,000 followers to, I think it's like 1.5 mil or 1.2 mil or something in a matter of months. And what they've really done is leaned into using the owl, which is their mascot, and it's just a passive aggressive, corny owl. Like, I'm not even kidding. They are posting thirst traps, they are posting death threats to people, but it's humorous and it's a TikTok kind of humor, which would so not work on LinkedIn or even YouTube. So they've tailored their content and their strategy to understand, oh, this is what the audience likes. And that's what I guess a good brand strategy comes back to is, what do your audience want? Or what are they engaging with and enjoying on a certain platform? As opposed to brands who get it wrong, who think, oh, this is what we assume that the audience wants, so we're just going to do that. It's like, no, listen to your audience. And Duolingo have been absolutely smashing at what they're doing because they listen to what the people want and they just lean right into that.
True. I think that's connecting with your audience is very important, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about this in my class yesterday, about that connecting. Sometimes marketers and brands have this disconnect with their customers, right? Because sometimes when a brand is growing, right, they feel that people already understand and know who we are. But again, you are onboarding new customers, new clients every day. Maybe the old clients and the old customers know about your brand and know what you do, but the new ones might not necessarily know what you do. So there must be this constant educating of your client base, new and old, right? And just constantly being in touch with them, right? For instance, the marketing team and the sales team needs to have some sort of synergy, right? Because the sales team most of the times are always the ones in front of the customers and know what's going on, but the marketing team sometimes can be out of touch, and so it's really interesting about just learning and always being in touch with your customers. And I like what you said there about personalization, right? Which just made me remember about a report I was reading about Segment. Segment put out a report about the state of personalization of 2021. And there was something interesting that I got from there. They said 60% of consumers say they will become repeat buyers after a personalized shopping experience with a retailer. And
Crazy.
the same number was 44% in 2017.
Wow.
Did you get?
That's a big growth.
Yeah. So it means that people don't want to be seen as just numbers and they want that touch. Again, which is still going back to other things I saw on this Hootsuite report about social selling and, even consumers not wanting to call a business anymore. They just want to go on social media and just chat, right? Of course, if I'm on social media all the time, I don't need to put up a call to complain or get my issue resolved. Let me just go on LinkedIn. Let me just go on TikTok. Let me just go on Instagram, Twitter, and just chat up the brand and they get it resolved. So interesting times ahead.
Yeah, definitely. It's so interesting to see how, I guess, the generations have changed as well. I mean, I was chatting with my mum just yesterday and she spent, I think, an hour on hold trying to get a refund for something, whereas I would never have the patience for that. And I'm just like, oh, I just want to, do a live chat on the website or send an email and wait for someone to get back to me, as opposed to waiting to speak to, I guess, a real person and, go through the process that way.
Yeah. So again, that speaks to the brand strategy and the omni-channel strategy. So I was talking with, so I'm a member of the American Marketing Association, right? And I'm part of the Toronto chapter. So we had a session about, I think, last month, and somebody walks in a startup and they do not have a customer care desk where they can resolve people's issues, right? So they maintain only, I think it's just phone calls and email. So I let them understand that okay, I didn't talk with the company, but I spoke with my chapter member that okay, what I see is a strategy for you guys, especially a fintech or a startup in the tech industry, right? Saying that you need to be available to your customers everywhere they are in
Yeah.
terms of customer service, right, and customer care.
Yeah.
So, for instance, what you just mentioned about your mom um, is clear because you just want to chat, she might want to call, right? So, different demographics, different ways of trying to get in touch with a brand or a business. So, some people might want to send an email. They don't want to chat. They don't want to call. Some people might want to call. Some people might want to chat. So just make that all those channels available to them so that because what I feel is important in a tech for a tech company or two things that are important are how innovative you are in coming up with new products and coming up with better versions of your product and your customer service. When people have issues with your product, where do they go? How do they
Yeah.
get it resolved? How soon do they get all those things resolved? So it's amazing,
Oh,
right?
totally. Bad customer service can have such a long sort of serving, I guess, negative impact on a brand. If you know the power of word of mouth when someone has a bad experience is insane compared to someone who might have a good experience. I mean, think about
True.
how many times you've had a bad experience with a brand, and you want to tell every single person in your circle to be like, "Hey, don't shop there. Hey, they were rude," or like they were awful, or I didn't get my money back. I do that. I shout it from the rooftops. I'm like, "Do not shop at this brand," or "Don't go with this company to travel." I don't know, whatever. Compared to when I have an incredible service, I probably tell a few people about it, but I'm more likely to sort of share further the negative experience I had to warn people.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, personalization and customer experience is a very, very big factor, and it can quite easily ruin a brand so quickly if they're not getting those right.
Yeah, true, true. There's something I started doing on LinkedIn, although I was not consistent with it, was about giving brands recognition for good product and service. So I was like, what the title was, if it's good, talk about it. So I think I made a post a couple of times about, how I enjoyed the service or I downloaded an app and it was just beautiful, right? I think I need to do that more because, again, when things are not good, we tend to talk about it more than
I
when things
know
are good.
we sometimes forget to sort of share the positives. I love that. Trying to,
True,
be more
true.
proactive and like, oh, this is a seamless experience, or I love the design of it, or the person I spoke to was so helpful and it was resolved in a day instead of weeks and months. I think we often forget. I know I'm guilty of this, of just, being like, oh, that was nice, and then carry on with my life. I'm like, oh, I could take 5 minutes to leave a review or thank someone or tell someone else about it, and then, give them more positive referrals or something.
Yeah, yeah. So I think talking about brands on TikTok, we're already talking about our next item, which is brands and social, right?
Yes.
How brands are leveraging social media across board, right? Because the way I see it, social has become very important in your overall brand strategy, right? The time where brands don't consider social anymore is long gone, right?
Yep.
You
Totally.
cannot be building out your brand strategy and not factor in social, right? How brands are taking advantage of the opportunities. Where do you see social media going next with brands, and what things are standing out for you? I know you mentioned something about Duolingo and TikTok, but if you can just talk about other things, maybe other platforms as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the brands that are doing it well have a different strategy for different platforms because there's at the end of the day, Facebook versus YouTube versus Twitter, even audio ones like Clubhouse and Green Room, they serve a different audience. They also serve a different purpose.
True.
For example, people who are on Pinterest, I think it's something silly like 80 or 90% or maybe 60% of people go there with an intent to purchase. Whereas when you go to Instagram, you're looking for inspiration. And so the brands who are doing it right don't just necessarily use the exact same content, the same copy, and assume that the same audience is going to be on every platform. So the brands, I'm happy to follow the same brand, let's say Nike, for example. I'm happy to follow them on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, because I know I'm going to get a different experience. And I think that's something that's missed by a lot of people is, social plays such a large point in the customer journey and the path to purchase that if you're not getting it right, then you're really going to be missing out on a huge opportunity. And I guess sort of looking at, going into 2022 and some things that I see as, things to jump on or, big trends and stuff. Personalization and authenticity is a big one. A lot of consumers, not just in Australia or Canada or the US, sort of globally are really starting to say like, oh, I don't want to see a flashy salesy ad. I want to see a person that I can relate to. I want to see the head of social sitting down and doing a video on LinkedIn, or I want to see the CEO talking about it, or I don't know, a day in the life or something, or like, how is this actually made? Or they want to see a lot more behind the scenes, a lot more authenticity, as opposed to just get 30% off. It's like there needs to be a really big balance of the kind of content, both in, I guess, the content that you consume and, what is the essence of it, as well as in the content format as well. And I think, the biggest trend probably going into that, I guess, is short form video content, which wouldn't come to a surprise to many. I mean, it's big on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok as well.
Sure.
Even on LinkedIn, it's starting to sort of reward shorter videos and, getting high view time because you don't have to sit down and watch a 17-minute video. There's still a place for that, on Facebook, YouTube, but I think that a lot of brands have just thought, oh, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing that I always do. It's like, no, you need to be a lot more adaptive. There's big changes that come to social commerce. I mean, that is just getting out of hand on Instagram, Facebook. That's not going anywhere. Social commerce, that's going to be a big trend as well. But brands just really, if they're not keeping up with the speed that digital changes, even the metaverse has become a whole thing in the last sort of couple of years. Brands who are too scared to adapt or change or even trial, they're the ones that are going to get left behind. So they need to keep up with not only what's performing well, I guess, in terms of algorithms on different platforms and what kind of content gets rewarded, but then also understanding and really listening to customers as well. Your customers are not going to want the same thing that they did 5-10 years ago.
Sure.
If you listen to them and give them what they want, as opposed to just assuming to what they want or what they are, seeking on social, then you're going to have a really good, really positive outcome if you're sort of, taking the time to appreciate and listen to that feedback.
Yeah. So I think, we have mentioned this a couple of times here about listening to your audience, listening to it's so important, right? Because I think that is like the foundation of your activities, your strategies. Like if you want to build out a strategy, whatever it is, you need to know, even from building out your persona, you need to know who is my audience, what do they want, where are they, what kinds of content, how do they like to consume content, how do they like to buy, those kind of things. It's really fundamental in building out your strategy for marketing, social, across board. And I feel it should be a continuous process.
Totally.
Right? Because if you start a brand right now, if you launch a product right now, you cannot assume that the data you had or the insight you had in 2021 is still going to be relevant in 2026. Right? So it needs to be continuous and, just keep it going.
Yeah,
then
definitely.
You mentioned metaverse. Do you want to talk about metaverse?
Maybe on another episode. I'm still very much in my infancy and like learning about it, but I just know that there's a lot of big brands out there. You got your Gucci, Disney, Adidas, Nike, who are all, obviously, Facebook is just renamed to Meta. Like there's so many companies and brands that are leaning into it, and even the whole crypto and NFT space. But I think it's definitely something to watch out on. I think it's only just beginning. really sort of now.
True. I think maybe talking about metaverse, NFTs, and all those.
I'm not qualified enough for that yet.
We definitely, maybe even we will talk about it on another.
That's for another day.
Yeah. So this has been interesting.
It's been great.
Rosie, thank you for coming here to the podcast. Thank you for recording this episode, and I hope to see you again sometime, and maybe I can be a guest on your own podcast.
Yes, I'm gonna have to get you on mine. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really great. I always love being able to talk about social and marketing, and my poor friends and family are just sick of it. So it's nice to talk about it with someone that really gets it. So it's been lovely.
Yeah. So if you just want to tell people where to follow you on social media, I'm also going to put a description.
Perfect. A shameless self plug. I'm active on LinkedIn. You can find me at just Rosie Chong. And then I'm also on TikTok and Instagram for the most part, just Rosie Chong as one word. And then if you want to check out the podcast, it's called It's a Definite Maybe podcast on pretty much every platform. That's it.
Nice.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Till next time, my name is Evangel. Stay frosty.
You know what thing about life is people gonna talk about you regardless of what you're doing. So stay focused, stay on your grind, and pay them the mind.